Welcome. By the way, have you subscribed to our YouTube channel Inawezekana TV? You need to do it. This is the last word on Sunday. By the way, have you not noticed what God is saying at a season like this time? When we are busy trying to recycle the kind of leaders that we should be electing coming August, God is saying something completely different. He is saying in Isaiah 43 verse number 18 that I am doing something new. Don't you see it? And God is one who does things that are new, things that are the latest, things that are fresh, things that the world has not witnessed. This is what God is doing in our lives. And we can be excited and honor God and bless His name, because the things that He is doing are simply fresh. They are the latest. They have not been witnessed in the world. And every time when I look and think about that word that God is saying that I am doing something new, three things comes to my mind. And the first thing that I'm thinking is that God never runs out of ideas. He has 1,000 ways in which to fix your marriage. He has 1,000 ways in which to help revive your business. He has 1,000 ways in which to make your life just to pick up. God does not run out of ideas. If idea A does not work, then He can use another idea. If you remember, when Jesus Christ was in this world, there was different ideas that He used to be able to heal people. For some, He sent them to the river to bathe. For some of them, He touched their their eyes. For some of them, He just spoke to them and said, just pick up your mat and walk. Jesus had a lot of ideas of healing people. And so in your case, you do not need to feel threatened, and you don't need to feel like you are arrested or you're placed in a cage where you cannot be able to move. God is there and He's telling you that He is doing something new. He does not run out of ideas. And so even as Kenyans, even as we think about who is the best leader to elect, we do not need actually to feel like we are trapped, like we do not have other leaders that in which we can be able to elect. God will be able to give us ideas of other people, of better people in which we can be able to elect. And then number two, God does not only God does not run out of ideas, but I also believe that God does not run out of what we call options. We can never fix God. We cannot trap God. We cannot be able to move God into a certain place that he is in a corner. God has a lot of options. And it is only human that runs out of options. In life gives us limited options. But with God, He has numerous options for us. And He must not be cocooned into one option. That is the only option that He can be able to give us. God is rich with a lot of options. If you look at how He was able to fix wine running out in Cana of Galilee, if you look at the way He was able to raise Lazarus, who was dead for 4 days, if you look at the way He was able to intercept and change a morning a burial procession into a jubilation, then it simply communicates to us that God never runs out of options. And this, we are using it to encourage somebody today that God never runs out of options. If you are working in a business or in your marriage, all in life, you are a leader, it looks like you do not have any options ahead of you, then we want to tell you that God never runs out of options. When Israelites were traveling in the the desert, Sinai desert, and right in front of them was the Red Sea, and behind them was the Pharaoh and his soldiers, and they were running out of option. God was able to create an option. He created a way in the sea, and they were able to walk there. And sometimes we find ourselves in such situations whereby we do not know where to go. It looks like every option that is available for us is crossed. Even in those moments when every option in our life seems to be crossed, allow me to remind you that God never runs out of option. And then number three, and I think this is very important, is that God never runs out of resources. It is in no single time that God runs out of resources. By the way, he owns 1,000 cattle in a hillside. And we need to understand that even when he gives us those huge responsibilities, even when the responsibility that he is giving us to do in our own lives looks like they are uphill and they look very challenging, we can be comforted and be encouraged that God never runs out of resources. His name is Jehovah Jireh. He is God who provides. You know, when Abraham was there, very worried and really wondering, am I going really to sacrifice my own son? God had provided for him a lamb. It was caught in the thicket and was able to, Abraham was able to sacrifice the sheep instead of his own son. Why don't I remind you, one day when his people, his own disciples, were caught into a fix, they needed to pay taxes. You know, what did Jesus say? Jesus said, you go into the lake, catch a fish, and the first one that you get, then you are going to get the money that you really need. Look at the moment when they were in a wilderness. And they are like, oh, what are we going to do? And there is no, this is a desert. How can we feed such a huge crowd of people? You know, Jesus simply asked, what do you have? And he was able to multiply those resources to be fed by lots of people. Allow us to encourage you today that God never runs out of resources. God is rich. God is wealthy. God is not limited like us. And so this Sunday, we want to encourage you with three things. That when we talk about that God is doing something new, three things. Number one, that God never runs out of ideas. He has 1,000 ideas in which to help you to be able to overcome the challenge that you are going through, to be able to give you a breakthrough that you really need in life. And then number two, and very interesting, is that God never runs out of what we call options. God can never be fixed. We can never fix God. God is able to help us to fix those challenges that we are going through. And then number three, God is able, it never runs out of resources. He is rich, he is wealthy. And so this week, do not be discouraged. If you're there and you feel like you want to get crushed and you feel like you reach your dead end, don't give up yet. Because what are we saying today is that God never runs out of ideas. God never runs out of options. God never runs out of opportunities. This is the last word on Sunday. My name is John Kimani. Please keep it tuned. Thank you so much for the many of you that are watching this broadcast. And until next week, such a time as this, my name is John Kimani. Remember what you always say here in Inawezekana. Have a blessed week ahead of you.